Hi, everybody. This week we're going to learn about campaign metrics. Now, when we start thinking about marketing analytics, we often think only in terms of campaign metrics. In other words, how successful was our last email campaign, or how successful was that ad that we ran on Facebook or Instagram? Now, as we've learned throughout this course, there's actually a lot more to marketing than measuring on the campaign level, but that doesn't mean that measuring on the campaign level isn't also important. So this week we're going to take it back to basics and we're going to learn how do we measure the success of our marketing campaigns. So let's begin. So when we measure on the campaign level, it's important to think about what our goals are. Our first goal is often to optimize our marketing campaign performance. In other words, to make the last email a little bit better than the one before and the one before that until we found that perfect formula for having a great marketing campaign. Now, that's one goal for measuring on the campaign level. Another one that we commonly use is to decide where to invest our marketing budget. In other words, if we have exceptionally successful Facebook campaigns, then we might want to invest more in that versus email campaigns if those are less successful. But another reason to measure our marketing campaigns is actually to understand the big picture. Even though the campaign metrics that we typically look at are granular and meant to measure the success of a particular campaign, they also help us to understand what kind of messaging is most successful with our target audience, what kind of brand attributes our customers are seeking, as well as what kinds of pricing or what kinds of aesthetics they're looking for from us. So it's actually really helpful to help us understand the big picture to look at our campaign metrics as well. So let's look at some specific types of campaigns and what are the metrics that matter for these specific types of campaigns. So email marketing offers us a lot of different kinds of metrics that we can look at that are valuable. And even though you may not read every commercial email that comes into your inbox, the ROI for email is still very high, somewhere between $40 and $45 come back in revenue for every $1 we invest in email. Now, that's partly because email is such a cost-effective medium, but it's also effective in driving customers back to a site who have already engaged with you once. And so it continues to be a really relevant channel. Now, speaking of whether or not we read all of those commercial emails that come our way, one of the critical metrics you want to look at when measuring the success of an email campaign is the open rate. In other words, what percentage of people opened an email campaign. Now, that can't always be tracked very accurately because, as I've mentioned before in this class, open rates depend on their tracking, on a tracking pixel, which is a single invisible image, which many email security systems now block. So in many cases, we can't track whether a reader or a consumer opened our emails because their security is blocking the tracking. However, it's still really important to look at our open rates because that can be a measure of how willing customers are to engage with us and how engaging they find our emails, whether it's our email program overall or a particular subject line. So even though we can't track every open, it's still important to look at the trends of our open rates. And just bear in mind that we're not catching every open, and so our true open rate is going to be a little bit higher than what we're actually seeing. Also, even more important, though, is the click-through rate, which is also sometimes called the click-to-open rate. And that is the percentage of people who opened the email who then decided to click on a link within that email. So let's say you had 100 people open your email, and 10 of the people who opened that email then also clicked on one of the links in that email. Let's say a coupon or a blog post that you had excerpted in that email. That gives you a click-through rate or a click-to-open rate of 10%. And you want to watch that number because the more people who open your email actually click on it, the more engaging they're finding the email. But more importantly, obviously, the more they're taking action based on the message in your email. If you have a low click to open rate or click through rate, that means that people are opening your emails, but they're not redeeming the coupons that you're sending them, or they're not clicking through to read the blog posts that you're sending them. And that's a sign that eventually they may unsubscribe. However, you may have also designed your email emails in such a way that people don't have to click in order to avail themselves of whatever offers are in the email. For instance, let's say you have a QR code or a barcode that people can redeem as a coupon in store. In those cases, they have no reason to click through in your email, and so you don't need to measure your click-through or click-to-open rate as closely because that's not as relevant a metric of your email's performance. So you need to understand the kinds of creative that you're sending out in your email program to determine whether that's an important metric for you. But open rates are certainly important, and for most marketers, the click-through rate is also a really important metric. Some other important metrics you want to look at. What are your unsubscribes? In other words, what percentage of people who receive an email from you then opt to unsubscribe? You really want that number to be in the single digits. In fact, you probably want it to be under 3%. Under 1% is the ideal across the industry. Anything higher than that, and people are really finding your emails disengaging, or they don't recognize you as the sender and they think that the email is spam. That leads me to the other metric you want to really closely look at, spam complaints. If you get a large number of spam complaints for your email marketing program, your email service provider may actually refuse to work with you. You might even get in trouble legally if you are found to actually be sending spam. In other words, unsolicited emails that people did not sign up for and that are not based on some kind of prior commercial relationship that gives you a legal right to send emails to a particular individual. So you really want to watch those spam complaints. And if they start going up, you want to look at what it might be about your emails that are causing people to mark them as spam. Do they not recognize you as a subscriber? Perhaps you recently rebranded your brand and they don't realize that they're a subscriber to your email list because they signed up when you had a different kind of logo or a different name. So you want to be sure that you're very clear in your branding, and that can help deal with any unwarranted spam complaints. And absolutely, you don't want to purchase email lists or actually engage in any kind of behavior that could legitimately be labeled as spam, because that's not only a bad marketing practice, but again, could get you into trouble. Now, the forward rate, on the other hand, is a very good metric. It's the percentage of people who forwarded your email to a friend. So if you're sending out fantastic coupons or wonderful information in your emails, like summaries of great blog posts, people are going to forward those emails to other people. So your forward rate is a sign that people liked your email so much that they sent it on to somebody else. Also, a really positive metric when it comes to your emails, your list growth. And that's how many people sign up to your email list every month or every quarter or even every week. Now, if you have sign-up sheets, for instance, at all of the cash registers in your stores, that's a sign of how well your sales team, your frontline staffers are getting people to sign up for your emails. If you have an online presence, it's a sign that your website is doing a really good job of engaging people to the extent that they say, you know what, I want to hear more from this brand and I want to hear more from this company. So either way, your list growth is a positive sign that people are finding your brand engaging and they want to hear more from you. Now, obviously, there's much more to marketing campaigns than just email, and we've talked a little bit about social media metrics before, as well as we have a lot of that in our readings. So I'm going to focus in this lecture on ad metrics. Now, we've talked about social media analytics at the beginning of the class for organic social media, and that's how many likes you're getting, how many shares you're getting, how many comments you're getting on your individual social media posts. Now, obviously, you can also run ads on social media, whether that's an Instagram ad or a Facebook post that you're promoting. And also, some brands still run banner ads on different websites. We aren't really talking a lot about paid search in this course, except to use the SpyFu tool, but don't forget you can also run ads that crop up in searches, in web searches, alongside the search results, and that's known as PPC or pay-per-click advertising. And so what are the metrics you want to look at when you're measuring the success of any of these types of ads? Well, one is simply the impressions, and that's the number of times people have seen your ad. Now, just because they've seen it doesn't mean that they're going to buy from you, but if they don't don't see it, they're clearly not going to be aware of your brand. So you want to measure how many impressions your ads are getting, how many times people are seeing it. When you're talking about specific ad venues like Google search results or Facebook, that can also be a sign of how many people are online searching for your type of product or service, or even your brand by name, depending on what keywords you're using or what kind of targeting you're using on social media, such as on Instagram. And so impressions can be simply a raw measure of how many people have seen your ad, or it can even be a measure of the level of interest people have in your type of product or service if you're talking about search-based advertising or social media-based advertising. Then you want to look at the click-through rate. Same as with email marketing, we measure the click-through rate on ads. In other words, how many people clicked on the ads. Now, it's important to manage expectations when we talk about advertising click-through rates because they're very, very low. On a banner ad, the typical click-through rate is 0.038%. On Google ads, that show up highly relevantly on specific keyword searches, you could have a click-through rate of, let's say, 6% or 8%, but it's seldom ever in the double digits. It's always in the single digits, and it's often less than 1%. So with that expectation, I mean, there are sometimes double-digit click-through rates on ads, but they're quite rare. An 8% click-through rate is very, very healthy. Then in certain types of advertising, you might end up with relevance and frequency scores. Facebook, for instance, will measure ads on their platforms, which include Instagram, with the relevance metric. And the relevance is simply how relevant consumers found your ad. In other words, how much they engaged with it and how relevant the ad was to their interests. Now, frequency, on the other hand, means how often people saw the same ad. So impressions are the sheer number of times your ad was seen, and frequency is the number of times an individual consumer saw your ad. So you might have 100,000 impressions, but your frequency might be 5 or 6, which means that an individual consumer would have only seen your ad 5 or 6 times. Once you start to get into the double digits with frequency, that's actually a bad sign. While a click-through rate in the double digits is stellar, a frequency rate in the double digits is not a good sign. It means people are seeing your ad far too often and they're starting to tune it out. You want to keep your frequency under 10 and keep refreshing your graphics, keep refreshing your ad copy so that you always show fresh, new, and interesting ads. So watch that frequency to give you an indicator of when it is time to refresh your ads and come up with some fresh, exciting, new creative. All of these different ad metrics will measure how likely your ad is to drive sales. And then, of course, you'll look in web analytics, as we already have, to see whether any of the traffic resulting from those sales resulting from those clicks, that is, actually turned into a sale. So for this lecture, we're going to focus on the actual engagements with the ad itself, bearing in mind that you also need to be looking closely at your Google Analytics or your other analytics platform, such as your HubSpot or Adobe Analytics, to understand whether all of these clicks that are coming from the click-through rates of your email campaigns, your social media ads, or your Google ads are actually leading to sales. Campaign metrics alone will not give you that sales data. You can marry your web analytics data with your campaign metrics, but campaign metrics really focus on how people are engaging with a particular campaign. Now, you can tie sales back to a campaign, and in fact, most marketers do, but always bear in mind that you're looking also at how people are engaging with content beyond just a sale. You might be looking simply for awareness, for instance, and that can be a completely relevant and worthy goal for a marketing campaign. So looking at that big picture, though, it's important for all of our campaigns to track them back to sales and revenue. Now, more sophisticated measures will also look at lifetime customer value by channel. So, for instance, let's say you're running both Facebook ads and Google search ads. One may lead to more sales in the short term than another, but in the long term, let's say your customers whom you found through Google search, who came to your site and found you, that is, through Google search, are twice as likely to stay loyal customers and keep purchasing from you year after year. Even though the initial sale from a Facebook ad might be higher, the long-term relationship is more valuable from the Google ads. That's just one example. It could be the other way around. You could get a better long-term relationship with the customers that you meet on Facebook or on Instagram than on Google. It all depends on the brand. So you want to measure your lifetime customer value by channel. In other words, what types of campaigns, what types of advertising drove not just an immediate sale, but a long-term relationship with a customer, which is measured with a metric called lifetime customer value, which is simply the amount of revenue you've derived from a particular customer relationship over time. Campaigns, like we talked about before, on the other hand, aren't necessarily always measured just in terms of sales. You could also be generating brand lift. In other words, more people are aware of your brand, more people have a positive impression of your brand as measured by, let's say, a customer survey or a brand awareness survey. And that's a very worthy goal for a campaign as well. So not every campaign is just about the sales. But again, you do want to focus on conversions. So one thing a lot of marketers do measure is the number of conversions that came from not only a particular campaign, but from a particular type of creative or piece of creative, like a specific ad. If you have your Google Analytics set up correctly, you can track the revenue and the number of conversions that can be attributed to a particular ad. And in fact, you should be tracking conversions down to the level of what ad generated the traffic that ultimately led to the conversion. In other words, the sale or the email list sign up. You can also track cost per conversion. Don't forget, different kinds of advertising have very different costs associated with them. A Google ad can be quite expensive, often costing $20 or more per click, whereas an Instagram ad might cost you only a few pennies less than a dollar per click. So you want to look at how much you're paying per conversion, because if you're getting equal numbers of conversions from an ad campaign that cost you $1 per conversion versus one that cost you $20 per conversion, obviously when we think about where we're going to allocate our marketing spend in the future, we're going to spend definitely more money on those $1 conversions than versus the ones that cost us $20. So make sure you're tracking cost per conversion. Now, finally, you want to be sure that you're testing different kinds of creative. We've talked a little bit about the importance of always having fresh creative. You also want to make sure that the creative that you're putting out there, whether it's graphics or ad copy, are relevant to your audience. And the best way to determine that is through A/B and multivariate testing. In A/B and multivariate testing, we test different versions of an ad or a landing page. We randomize which consumer gets what message, and we then isolate and test different aspects of our marketing creative. We could test the messaging. For instance, our product has a great scent or it has a great price. We could test different offers, like a $1 off coupon versus a buy one, get one free coupon. Or we could test the design of the ads, whether, for instance, a photograph of a family is going to do better versus maybe a picture of a cute kitten or something like that. We can test all of that. Now, the difference between A/B and multivariate testing is that in A/B testing, you test only one variable at a time. Like you test only whether a $1 off coupon performs better than a buy one, get one free coupon. You're testing only two different variants of one single variable. You're just testing those two options. Now, with multivariate testing, on the other hand, you're testing multiple different combinations of offers. And this can be really important. You're also testing multiple different variations of, let's say, your creative. So, for instance, you could test a $1 off coupon with a photo of a family. You could then test a $1 off coupon with a photo of a cute dog. Then you could test a buy one, get one free coupon with a photo of a family and a buy one, get one free coupon with a photo of a cute dog, and then add in different colors, different geographic targeting, and it can get quite complicated. In multivariate testing, you're trying to test out what combinations of offers, creative, targeting, and design are most likely to generate sales or conversions or clicks. Whereas with A/B testing, you're keeping it simple and you're just testing one thing against another. I strongly recommend for most people getting familiar with testing to stick with A/B testing. You can see here that in this diagram how easy it is to run an A/B test. 50% of people who go to this website get to see an image that is orange and is on the right-hand side of the screen. That is the group A. And 50% of the people, and again, this is all randomized, nobody knows what particular segment they're going to fall into, whether they're going to get test A or test B. And that makes it a true test. And you can see here 50% of the web traffic was randomly sent to a version of the page that had a blue image on the left-hand side. And then we measure what the conversions are. And we got 20% conversions from version A and 40% conversions from version B. And so version B is the clear winner. An A/B test is very straightforward, but it can give us a lot of information. And so it's really important to test all of our creative. Rather than debate amongst yourselves as a creative team whether orange or blue is more popular or images on the right or the left are more popular with your target audience, you can actually see the results by randomly giving one half of your audience one version of the website and the other half of your audience the other version of the website, and seeing for yourself which one leads to the most sales or conversions of any other kind, such as email sign-up. So to sum it all up, to understand your campaign metrics, you want to not just look at the performance of an individual campaign, but look at the big picture. What does our consumer's preference for an orange image versus a blue image, for instance, tell us about the types of creative or the types of branding we should be engaging in across the board? You always want to look at what is this test or what is this campaign metric telling us about our consumers, about our brand, and about our position in the market, and what we should be doing with our marketing overall. Don't just focus on that one ad, but think about what it's telling you about how you should be advertising or sending out email overall. Treat every test and every campaign metric as a learning opportunity. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Let's say your email open rates for a campaign that you thought would do well weren't as stellar as you thought they would be. Run some A/B tests, and next time you'll have an even more compelling campaign and your open rates will be where you expect them to be. Always look at your metrics with a focus on improving, and always be improving. Even if your email open rates are outstanding, they can always perhaps be better, or there's something else you can improve about your campaigns. For instance, with one of our clients, we won an award from Constant Contact for having among the highest open rates in the industry after testing multiple different kinds of subject lines to get more people to open. What did we do? Did we stop trying to improve those emails? Absolutely not. After we won that award for having the highest open rates in the industry, we started to focus on improving our click-through rates, and we were able to double them by coming up with more compelling buttons for people to click on that were more descriptive and in brighter colors or had more interesting images next to them. So always be improving, whether your campaigns are lagging or whether they're doing well. Always look at all of your campaign metrics as an opportunity to learn what's working and learn where you can do better, and most importantly, to learn more about your target audience so that you can meet their needs with clear, effective communications across all of your campaigns. I hope you enjoyed this lecture, and see you online.